Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, we are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. So glad you found us. So glad to join us. If you like talking pro wrestling with pro wrestling fans, this is the place to be. Of course, I'm your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. I'd be remiss if I did not mention my co-host, my tag team partner. We are the co-champs of the For Frequency's Sake Network. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing tonight?
Man, I am doing fantastic. I got 2/3 of my workout done between getting off of work and starting the show. Going to take care of that other third once we're done. But I'm feeling pretty good. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. It does feel a little weird. You know, we'll take you behind the curtain here. We usually do these on Sunday evenings. And it was weird last night sitting around at this time, at the time we would record, not having anything. But doing it on a Monday is definitely different. It's got a different feel to it. But that's good. And we've got a guest this week, CZ. So it just won't be us two on here talking about wrestling.
Right. It won't. In fact, I'll give a little background story. I met our guest at an Honor Among Wrestling show, but what drew my attention is our good friend Rob Kammerer interviewed her about a year or two ago. So we're gonna bring her on.
Curse you, the Wizard CZ! You have stolen my fans.
Not only your fans, Rob, but your guests. We're welcoming into the studio. She is known across the country as the Marionette. Please join us in welcoming Noelle Summit. Noelle,
Hello.
how are you doing today?
Hello. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I am Noelle.
Welcome to the show. We're glad you're here, and thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
I love having first-time guests because I ask every first-time guest the same question.
Oh, I'm excited.
It's a tough one, too. It's a tough one. Why pro wrestling? What is it that got you hooked and kept you in?
Why pro wrestling? You know, I think the thing that's always kept me hooked and always come back to it, because I think most wrestling fans, I got into it and then had some times where I kind of felt away from it. But I think what always brought me back was the strong emotional response and the strong emotional connection wrestling could erupt to its viewers. And, because I can say it, my favorite wrestler of all time, Bryan Danielson. And that's because I started watching wrestling right around 2013, during the Yes movement.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember being so emotionally connected to that story, and I remember getting so emotional watching him finally win. I think it's really just, gosh, that's what wrestling does to you. You're not expecting it, but it grabs you and it pulls you in, and it's the intensity and the emotion it elicits. I don't even know if that's a word, but
It is now.
yes, elicits from people. It's one of the kind. You can't get it watching a movie. You can't get that watching a movie. People may argue you can't watching a play. It's its very own thing. It's its own form of entertainment and sport. So
that's a good answer. We haven't had that answer before. So I love hearing it. I love hearing it. What you talk about Bryan Danielson and you got involved with the Yes movement. Was that the first major thing that you really, remember as a wrestling fan, getting behind, or was there something else you watched that got you in?
Oddly enough, it wasn't anything I watched, but it was a video game. It was, I believe my brother had got like a PlayStation 2 or 3 that Christmas. Whatever was the newest PlayStation at the time. And my grandma just got him a bunch of random games, which included SmackDown versus Raw 2009, I believe.
Oh yeah.
And I remember we just played it and we loved it. I remember our favorite wrestler was the Big Show. I love the Big Show. Love Paul White. We would always play him versus Mark Henry was a thing. John Cena, and then like, you know, one day we like realized, oh crap, we can watch this on TV. I mean, I even remember like the first description, like, you know, when you would have on demand and like you would click on the shows and it would give you like the what's going on, and it was SmackDown like 2013, maybe 2012. Alberto Del Rio versus John Cena in an arm wrestling match. That was an episode of SmackDown. I remember it. I remember it so vividly.
That's fantastic. Let me follow up and ask you. You know, you're talking about what got you into wrestling itself. What was that crystallizing moment that said, I've got to do this? What brought you in to be a wrestler, just in general, coming into to do it instead of just watching it?
You know, I think it was right around the time of the women's revolution. I remember vividly when Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha, they all debuted, and this was right around the time I was just coming and getting back into wrestling, and I think like because I was older, I was like around like 13 at this point, like I understood wrestling on a more deeper level. And the reason, to go back to Bryan Danielson, he was just a normal dude. You know, like he was just a normal dude. And then, you know, when these girls came and debuted, they were different from what we were being presented with at the time. You know, you could loop like, I still give AJ Lee and the Bellas credit for what they've done, for what they did. But I think when Becky, Sasha, and Charlotte came in, it presented more of a, I think it gave more girls, more women around the world the sense of, okay, I can do it. They didn't look like the quintessential diva. And I remember at Christmas, I was 13 years old, sitting in Tea Garden. It's a local Chinese restaurant down in Colorado. I'm sitting with like my aunt, my uncle, and my grandma. We're eating, and they're asking me, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Blah, 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 blah. And my uncle made a comment, and he was like, you know, I remember when you were 8 and you wanted to be a pro wrestler, and, you know, and you wouldn't make any money at that. And I guess that was really, me and my uncle are cool now. He was joking, don't worry. But he was just joking. And it was kind of like, I don't know what clicked in my 13-year-old mind in this Chinese restaurant, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to do it. Why not? Why not? Why not? So it was at that point, you know, I started saving. I remember I had this like little book, like box. It was like a book that looked like a box. It was a box that looked like a book. And I was saving my pennies. I got my first job at 15, actually. They, you know, breaking child labor laws. You know, like I ended up running that place in less than 3 months. So it was good. And I started saving for wrestling school. So yeah, that's kind of how all of that kind of came into fruition.
Before we get back to you in wrestling school, I want to bring up, you talk about the Bellas, and you talk about AJ Lee, and then you talk about how Becky Lynch and Charlotte and, you know, whoever else you want to name there took it to the next level. How about the women now? Like, it's gone beyond that, in my opinion. Like, I know what Becky and Charlotte and Bayley and you know, Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné did when they were coming up through NXT, but I just feel like the women after them, like, hit it out of the park. I mean, Rhea Ripley is a megastar, and in my opinion, she may be bigger and better than Charlotte Flair ever was. I know Charlotte's got the title reigns, but I think Rhea
Agreed.
is above Charlotte right now.
She, in my, if just like I think the women now, they're really producing megastars out of. Like, I think, like, you know, and as a woman on the indies, it really makes me feel like, gosh, like I have to turn it up, because I'll admit to you guys, you know, there's some nights where like I'm watching Raw, I'm watching SmackDown, and these Julia, Stephanie Valkyrie, Rhea Ripley, all these women, it's like, gosh, like it's amazing. But like, you know, as a woman on the indies, you're like, gosh, like I gotta lock in, you know, like there is no skating by in the women's division anymore, you know. Like I really think like the women now, like I was saying, we're able to get megastars that can go for 5-10 years with the company, you know, i.e. Becky Lynch. What we're seeing with Rhea Ripley, like you know, what I thought was very cool was I'm blanking on when it was, but when after Rhea beat Liv and Undertaker came out, you know, essentially she was Lady Death to the Undertaker. Like
that was the first.
I feel like
That was the first episode of Raw on Netflix. But I know exactly
the
what
first
you mean.
episode of Raw on Netflix.
Yep.
Like that, you know, like that is the first time I've ever seen a female talent, you know, be compared to like such a legend like that. So as a female watcher, that was just a big deal. Okay, like, you know, I think the girls are just fine, but like I don't know, like we're finally capable, and we finally have the opportunities of getting to that level. Because I don't know, like when seeing her and Undertaker stand there together, that was a special moment, I think, for all women in wrestling. Like giving her that kind of love was really cool to watch.
And I mean, we've come a long way from the days of the lingerie pillow fights, because women have really made a name for something. And like you said, there are women now that are just absolutely legendary, that they've gone to such lengths to surpass what they've done and where they are. It's amazing. And I can only imagine what it's like being a woman in wrestling right now, coming up in the indies, watching where everyone's going now and just imagining what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's my wonder, because, you know, we have WWE ID, and then you see we'll have WWE Future Legends next in line. Like there's just, it makes me wonder, is there gonna be more opportunities for me to make it, you know, with more eyes on the product as ever, you know. Like I think what the WWE is doing with the indies is great. I think like but I feel like there's also still a lot of unknown, you know, like on like, at least like I feel like the indie wrestler that's still kind of coming up, but it's unknown, so it's kind of intimidating, because it's like, okay, like people are watching, like people are paying attention to what we're doing in the indies. I'll just talk about like my home promotion and my original school, Rocky Mountain Pro. We've had some ID prospect matches, and it's very cool watching those guys at that level work. It's an exciting time to be in the indies. I feel like no matter what level you're at, because there's just a lot of like unknown, you know, like a lot of excitement. And you know, maybe it's kind of like, some people have said like it's kind of like dangling a carrot in front of somebody's face, but it's like, you know what, if you're doing wrestling just in the hopes of maybe one day getting an opportunity, you shouldn't be in wrestling. You should be in wrestling because you love this.
Yes.
You know, like, so it's, I just think it's exciting. You know, I'm like, one on the show I'm on in Evansville, Hooligans, May 10th, we're going to have the first WWE female prospect ID match. And I think that's excited to be a part of that show. So I think a lot of unknown, a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of like, okay, we need to start locking down, like people are watching, but I also think it's really exciting, because you don't know what's going to happen next.
I want to go back now. Talk about going to wrestling school. You said you saved up your money for it. How old were you when you started school, and did your expectations meet reality?
So I started wrestling school April 12th, 2021. I have it tattooed on my arm. I don't know if you guys can. Yeah, I got it tattooed on my arm.
There we go. Yep, I can see it. Yep.
I'm kind of a mark for myself in that sense, but it was a couple months after I turned 16. I started at Rocky Mountain Pro, the Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy. That's in Denver, Colorado. We're at Golden, Colorado, at the Jeffco Fairgrounds. My coach and my trainer is Matt Mercury Yaden. He's a veteran who's been doing this almost 20 plus years out in Colorado. Wrestling school, I was definitely intimidated, and that was someone coming as I listened to all the podcasts and stuff, listening, as a fan, you kind of think what to expect, but
Right.
you don't. It's so different from what you expected. And mind you, I'm coming in as a 16-year-old girl, so no one was pooping in my bag. Okay,
no Randy Orton's around, right?
Yeah, there was no Randy Orton around, and a lot of sense. I'm really glad I went to the place I did, because I was the baby. I still learn right from wrong, and what is right in this business and what's wrong in this business. But I was the baby. They took care of me and they watched out for me, and I'm very glad I went there because of such a strong focus on the basics and such a strong focus on footwork and in the psychology aspect of wrestling. And so it's my home, and I'm very grateful I had a start, because not a lot of people get such a cool start. We also have an emphasis on doing TV down there and wrestling in front of cameras. We do TV tapings once every month. We're running a real TV show. So it's very cool thing to be a part of, especially, freshly in wrestling. There's a lot of situations I might not be as familiar with if I didn't start there so I'm lucky. I bleed purple. I drink the purple Kool-Aid. That's an inside joke. But Matt Eden, he's my, there's I have a lot of respect for my coach. I do think that's kind of a lost aspect in wrestling, just because back in the day, the things people had to go through just to be trained, they killed them before they taught them how to run the ropes. So I have a lot of respect for my coach, and there should be more eyes on what's happening at Rocky Mountain Pro. It's an awesome product, and I'm very, 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 very grateful to them and my start there. I think starting in wrestling young is very scary, especially as a young girl. There's incidents where people want to be weird. There's incidents where you're lucky to have people that care about you, for example, we have a lot of shows at bars, so people watched out for me and kept me safe in situations like that. So really appreciative of them.
And that's something I always consider, having from my days as a ring announcer and from being around people here at the local promotions. Wrestling is really just a big family. In my opinion, everybody looks out for each other, and yeah, you might have the grumpy uncle sometimes who's not really, nobody really wants to be around, but for the most part, it's all a big family, and that's what I love about the business as a whole, at least on the indie scene, and what I love about doing this, because I get to meet new friends, talk to new people, and hear their stories about the family that is wrestling. Noelle, I want to fast forward a little bit here and talk about your first match. I want to know what your mindset was going into that and what your mindset was coming out after it was over.
So my first match is actually on YouTube. You guys can go watch it. It has 10K views. It's versus Michelle Riveter. Going through my mind, I was very nervous. I am not the wrestler I was when I started at all, because I'm not the person I was when I started.
Right.
I was so nervous, and it's like, okay, I just want to make it to the ring without fainting. And there's no other feeling like going out through the curtain. And when I went through the curtain for the first time, you cannot hear anything. Like I don't know why everything was like so muffled or what, but I could only hear my opponent. Like I was so nervous, and watching it back, I'm like, there was nothing I did was wrong. I was just not confident doing so. So it's a huge, it's a huge confidence boost when I go back and kind of watch where I started, and I'm like, gosh, that girl was so nervous. That girl, she came back and she burst into tears because of like, the anxiety, so it's like coming now and seeing what I'm capable of now, and like, I'm a champ. I've been a champion. I've done this and I've done that. It's like, dang. It's like, wow. But it was definitely nervous and like very, very just in my head the first couple of times I want to say I wrestled.
Very understandable.
Now, you've got a very unique persona gimmick. I want to know how we got to the Marionette and how that came to be. I'm always interested in the backstories of how people decided on what they wanted to be.
So it oddly enough was supposed to be a one-off character for a storyline, just one-off. Before the Marionette, I was Noelle Summit, the teenage dirtbag, flashing hearts at everybody. I was very very typical, just very typical, But anyway, there was this storyline where I got kidnapped, and my best friend had to come and save me. But the joke's on my best friend because the kidnappers brainwashed me, and now I'm the marionette puppet.
Okay.
I remember, and so I go out and I do my first match as the marionette, and it just something had clicked that was just not clicking before. I think, because it's like when you first start wrestling, you're not really told what you're supposed to be. It's like you're just kind of like, okay, sent out there, okay, kid, you're given a name, like you try to assemble some sort of a look. They just kind of like, okay, go, and you just kind of gotta develop it on like your own,
Yep.
So when I was sent out there to do the marionette, like the doll, like it felt right. I went out there and, in the back, my coach was watching, and basically he told the writer at the time, it was like, hey, can she keep doing this? Like this really, really works. And it's just, oddly enough, I felt more of myself as Noelle. It was kind of like a point where I could, like, that anxiety I was feeling in the ring. Okay, I could kind of had a point to like let that anxiety out.
Mm-hmm.
If that made sense. It just clicked, and as it's developed, it's changed. It's changed to more me, and like, because like I started wrestling when I was a teenager, so I'm definitely not the same person I was when I started. And so it's matured. The character has matured with me, and like, yeah, that's how I fell into it. It was basically an accident, a one-off that wasn't supposed to sprout anything, but I guess I did so good, and it felt so right that they were like, you let's keep doing this, and it was awesome.
You talked about how comfortable you were in being this character or this concept. Is it like a security blanket now? Like, as this, I can do this, I'm capable of this. And essentially everybody says like your character is you turned up to 10. So do we see a lot of the real Noelle in this marionette character?
I would say absolutely. And people will probably be like, she's saying that because I'm going out there, I'm beating my chest, I'm screaming, I'm twitching, but that really is me. it goes back to, like, goes back to when I was young, all the sad stuff that happens when you're young. I was labeled a very angry child when I was young. Not to get too deep into stuff or anything, but so being labeled as angry, it made me angry, So for a long time, the Marionette, like in the beginning, it was really a way I felt like as I got more comfortable, it was a way to let go of the anxiety, but kind of the way to let go of that anger. Like, obviously, like, because you get to be someone else when you're out there. Like you said, it's you 10 times up a notch, like, it doesn't matter what you're going through that day. It doesn't matter what's happening in your life for that 10 to 12 minutes you're out there, you're the Marionette, and you're here to entertain these people and send these people home happy. Like, if my goal is to make them hate me, I'm gonna make them hate me. If they want to love me, they're gonna love me. It's sorry, now I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but it is definitely a safe place. There's no place I'd rather be than being Noelle. Like, that is my happy place. Like, in the ring, and then, especially outside the ring, like when I get to interact with the fans, especially the little kids, and you may, make people feel special.
Absolutely.
I totally get it. I see it at shows with wrestlers, and to be able to be a wrestler and to give back like that has got to feel pretty freaking special. We are talking with Noelle Summit here. She is known as the Marionette. This is the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We, of course, are powered by Low Pies Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. I want to ask you a question. And you said you started wrestling when you were 16. Your home base is in Colorado, correct?
Yes.
When did you decide, okay, I'm going to get my name out there, I'm going to get my face out there, it's time to get out on the indies and let everybody see what the Marionette is?
So it was actually an opportunity that I was given by Honor Among Us, where I met you guys. I was still pretty early into doing the Marionette, and the promoter, Danny Hahn, he messaged me and he was like, I'd love to come, I love your character. Like, he had just seen a clip of something, and he was like, I love your character, and he brought me out, and I really kind of dipped, because, like, I was the baby, and like, yeah, it's funny, I was kept in the nest, kept in the nest.
Sure.
That when I kind of like, I finally got that opportunity to go out, and it wasn't as scary because Danny had messaged me very professionally. Ha is one of my favorite promotions out in that side. They'll always have a special place in my heart. I came out there and I did that show. I wrestled Guerrera de Brisenia. And after that, I had just put my all in that performance. I was like, no, none of these people have ever seen me before. I have to go out and put my all into it. And, I did. And ever since then, I've had more opportunities. I've made more connections, and people have reached out more. So like, I don't know if it was really, I was very lucky to have that opportunity from her, because I think that really kind of gave me the confidence of, people want to see me wrestle,
So where else? Talk about some of the other places that you've been. What you mentioned, Ha being a favorite place to go. Where else do you really like to go? What are some of the venues that you gravitate towards the most?
Wrestling with Theology has been one place I love. That is up in Anderson, Indiana. That is it's for a Christian fellowship. It's for a really good cause. It's just for like a little community. I love the kids there. I'm big on places where little kids come because they're my favorite to interact with. I love Hooligans. Hooligans got Championship Wrestling. That's one of the newer promotions. I'm gonna be at the show Rising to the Queendom, May 10th. I'm going back out there March 29th. Pro Wrestling Epic. I'm really excited to go back out there. Haven't been out there forever. They always treat me so kind. More towards the west, I would have to say IZW Wrestling. I just went out there this weekend. I had an awesome time. Respect Women's Wrestling out in Colorado. I know if I'm missing you, it's not because I hate you. It's because
no one's gonna hold it. No one's gonna hold it against you.
There's so many amazing places that I've been able to go to. I love all of them. Recently BPW Bullpen Wrestling, they just had their first show, and anybody who has ran a wrestling show for the first time knows how difficult that is. And I think for that being, I believe that first or second show, maybe the first or second show, I think it was awesomely done. So shout out to them. And yeah,
you're getting out there, and that's what and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're getting out there. Your people are seeing your face. They're seeing your in-ring ability. They're seeing how you interact. So you're doing the right thing. You're going places. It's just a matter of time before you get noticed, right?
Yeah. I hope so.
What's the plan here? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I don't like to beat around the bush. I want to go to WWE. That's been the goal since I was 8 years old. I told my coach on my tryout, I was like, look, man, I want to main event WrestleMania. That hasn't changed. So I hope in 5 years that I'm either in the performance center. I'm either a part of the ID prospect. I hope I am in closer relationship with WWE in 5 years, because in my that's just always been the end goal. Of course I'm going to be thankful for any opportunity, but if it's not, WWE is always will always be king to me. It's the place where heroes are made. Legends are born. It would be my goal 5 years is to hopefully have a contract. Hopefully.
Well, I admire your answer, because some people kind of want to beat around the bush and not really say it, but you said the part out loud that a lot of people don't want to say, and that's you said where you wanted to be, and that's great. That's what you need to do. I think you got to be honest with yourself right before anything else. And I mean, we've talked about on this show, and CZ and I've talked about on the show that NXT women's division is the best division in all of wrestling, and imagine being part of something like that.
It would mean you are the best of the best. There is some, and maybe this is a little controversial, but there are some things that you can argue in wrestling nowadays. But I do believe it's the best of the best that make it in WWE. If you make it, it kind of solidifies yourself in history. Sure. I don't know. That might be a little bit of a markish answer, but I want to go play. I want to play where the big boys play.
For sure. Can I say that I would love to see you make a pit stop in TNA and maybe do some work with Rosemary with the way your character is?
Oh, I love TNA. The 2008, 2009 I almost said knockouts. I think they don't get any credit for doing, because they were doing things that the women now in WWE are just now going. So I would love to take a pit stop in TNA. I'm moving to Louisville. That's not too far from where they're at. So I would love to.
Is In moving to Louisville, will there be a lot of opportunity for you there, or will you still have to branch out all over? I guess I'm not too familiar with the Louisville, Kentucky wrestling scene.
So down there, I'm down there. I feel like you have the opportunity to be booked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep.
Out in Colorado, like most of my my 2-day weekends, it's a show Friday in Colorado, and then you fly out Saturday somewhere, Indiana, Arizona, wherever. And that, in that area, there's so many promotions, so many opportunities to get booked. I just think it widens my horizon to get more reps and become better in ring wise. Also down in Louisville is OVW.
Yes. Yep. I knew that.
I'm in the point where there's a few things I want to clean up in ring wise. And I've always been spoiled my wrestling career. I've always had a place to train. So, in order to get to that next level, I have to train at a higher level. So I'm definitely going down there for training as well.
We are on here with Noelle Summit. This is the Card Subject to Change podcast. Of course, I'm never wrong, Nick Bull, joined by the Wizard CZ. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. I've got to ask you, you mentioned Bryan Danielson earlier.
Yes.
You were introduced to him through the Yes Movement. Us old hats in here, we learned about him through Ring of Honor. So I don't know. Have you ever gone back and watched his Ring of Honor stuff? Okay, cool. I just want to ask you this. What is your favorite Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to call him? What is your favorite match of his? When you think of him, what's your favorite match?
If we're leaning more towards like the Ring of Honor days, anything with Roderick Strong, like off of the top of my head. But if we're thinking more of like how I was introduced to Daniel Bryan, anything with Randy Orton, and like his feud with Randy Orton, they just had amazing matches. John Cena and Daniel Bryan, SummerSlam 2013. I'll always go back to the WrestleMania 30 main event, because that was just such an emotional main event. Like I remember being in tears, like watching him get stretchered back and then watching him come back and win the title. I really, really loved the tag match with him and Shane McMahon at WrestleMania with Kevin and Sammy. But again, like that was more an emotional part of it, because he's a wrestler that can capture the emotional part of it. That's off of the top of my head.
I'm glad you mentioned SummerSlam 2013, because I imagine you were probably as pissed off as I was.
Oh yeah.
When he wins the belt in a great match with John Cena. A great match.
It was fantastic.
And then he comes out and Orton just cashes in and destroys. I mean, man, I was pissed, but wrestling did its job.
it was a story, that was the first story. At least I remember I got to watch in wrestling unfold.
So I just wish you're talking about Bryan Danielson. I wish I could give you a time machine so you could go back to some of those old Ring of Honor days. I've been to several Ring of Honor shows when he was wrestling for them, and just the feeling when Final Countdown hits and he comes out, it's an experience in and of itself. I wish I could give that experience to you live. I really do.
You guys are so lucky. Like there's a lot of wrestling. Oh, my dog's coming to say hi. There's a lot of wrestling. Like I'm a big mark for stay there with me now, for like the aesthetic of like early 2000s wrestling, like the VHS tapes. Like I love that stuff. So I think I'm kind of jealous that you guys got to experience, like, I feel like a true indie wrestling show, like gritty 2008, like in some like parking lot somewhere. I'm jealous.
You're jealous the same way I'm jealous of people that got to watch Harley race on a regular basis.
Yes.
So I think what you're feeling is a natural thing, because I'm definitely jealous of some of the older wrestling fans that I'm friends with that got to see something that I wasn't around for. So I think you're in the right boat there. I think it's okay to think that way.
And look at it this way. You are experiencing something that the next generation is going to look back and they're going to be like, man, I wish I was there when you were there, because look at this right here.
Oh yeah.
So-
Like I think about like the women's Royal Rumble. Like I know there's gonna be one little girl who has always grown up with the women having a Royal Rumble. So like that, just to like bring that up, that's cool. But sorry, not to interrupt you.
No, you were fine. Go ahead.
Who's your favorite female, performer to watch right now on the main stage?
On the main stage, I'm loving Bianca Belair and Naomi.
Yep.
Love those guys. Roxy, Cora Jade though. I love those two. Just again, like they're my age, so it's always cool to see females who just get it. Like they know what to do to be entertaining. Like I said, female workers, they know what to do to be entertaining, and the wrestling is just so fun. Like I think Roxy, like in the next like 5 years, will be like the level of a Charlotte Flair, just based on her wrestling ability.
Oh, I think so too. I think she's a champ before. I think she is a major champion before that. Like she has shot up NXT. She had that great Rumble performance. I wonder if she's a call up the night after WrestleMania. I mean, I wonder if that's the big call up on the women's side.
That's what I'm thinking too. I love Stephanie Valkyrie. The look, the presence for the like I love when wrestlers have a presence. Like, that's something I try to work on. Like when the music hits and the curtain, they go behind the curtain, like you feel their presence. And like Stephanie Valkyrie, and again, like like growing up with some of the Divas matches and watching some wrestling that was clunky and not clean, and going to watch the women now where it's so clean, it's so crisp, it's insane. But I would definitely say Roxanne Perez. I keep calling her Roxy. That's how long I've been a fan.
I knew what you meant.
Roxanne, Bianca Belair has always been a favorite. I've always loved Naomi. Tiffany Stratton as well, because I think she is the only wrestler who has been able to make the back elbow look good. In my opinion,
that gymnastics background definitely helps her.
Oh yeah. Stephanie Valkyrie. Those are the guys that pop into my head as they're sticking out the most.
So you mentioned Bianca and Naomi. Let's play a little fantasy booking. Which one of them attacked Jade Cargill and why?
Yeah, it's hard because like I'm taking a lot of things in consideration, but I'm always down. Like I worked with Vince Russo, so like I'm always down for a good swerve. Let's go ahead and make it Naomi. No one's expecting to make it Naomi. I think Naomi, everyone's talking about we need heel Belair, but we've already seen heel Belair before. Never on the main roster. But I would make it Naomi, and I would make it Naomi, and then I would do it to where they both turn heel eventually. What if it was both of them? Like, what if it was both of them?
I've never looked at it that way. I'm in the boat where I hope it's Bianca, because I think we really need a heel Bianca.
It's great.
But Naomi, I don't think anybody's expecting. So
had she ever worked heel before? I don't think she has.
For a very short time in like 2015, I just remember because she had a theme song that went, "I'm amazing. I'm amazing." It was the best. She was teamed
Hell
up
yeah.
with Nina. It was the best.
That's fantastic. Noelle, for our fans who want to get more familiar with us, is there a place, like a specific place on YouTube that we can see some of your matches?
You know, I do not have a YouTube channel, unfortunately. And now that you said that, I should have a YouTube channel. So be on the lookout for the YouTube channel. I do not have anything currently. But the best place to go take a look at my stuff would probably be Instagram. I'm the most active over there, always posting links and clips to stuff like that. So now that you mentioned that, I need to get a YouTube. YouTube coming soon.
Are you on IG, Facebook, Twitter, any of that stuff?
Yes, it's going to be at Noelle Summit on all that stuff.
Okay.
I was lucky. No one stole the name yet.
So I don't know that anyone here who watches locally in our area is going to make it to any of your shows, but if anyone is watching from anywhere, where can they see in the upcoming weeks? Where are you going to be wrestling?
In the upcoming weeks, I am kind of off the next 2 weeks, but March 29th, I return to Pro Wrestling Epic, where I face Rachel Armstrong for the Pro Wrestling Epic women's title. It's the battle between the Shooting Star and the Marionette. I am so hyped to wrestle Rachel. Up next, in early April, you will see me at Wrestling with Theology in April, Anderson, Indiana. And those are the next dates I can tell you without pulling out my calendar. Again, I have the memory of a squirrel. See? Sorry, but
Noelle, this has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Before we wrap things up, I've seen you in person. I've experienced it. Nick has not. Can you please jump into character and give us the voice for a couple minutes?
Okay. Warning, sometimes I can't do it like on the spot. I don't know, it's weird, but we're gonna try We're gonna try to do the smoker's voice. Give me a second. Hello. Hey, what's going on? I'm Noelle Summit.
See, I knew that was going to get Nick. That's why I had to have you do it.
I like it. I really do.
I love it. The kids go up to me and they're like, it's just, hey man, like I just started doing it one day and you know what, it fits. But you know, sometimes it's like an adrenaline thing that like I can only hit it real good, like in the moment. But
Sure.
I'm glad I got something for you guys.
Absolutely. I will give a shout out to our friend Rob Camera. I know I shouted him earlier, but he did mention in the comments that he is sponsoring the Ascension Kingdom. So I wanted to give a shout out. So shout out to Rob Camera. Rob, we love you here. Even though we are stealing both your fans and your guests, then that's all because I'll
always be an OG, Rob. Come here.
Nick, do you have anything you want to add or ask before we go? I don't know. Well, you're a wrestling fan. What are you looking forward to seeing the most at WrestleMania?
I'm really excited to see what happens with Roman, Seth, and Punk. I wonder if they're gonna be entangled together. I'm really excited. Like if you told me 5 years ago that CM Punk was gonna be at WrestleMania, I would have told you were a god dang liar.
I don't think anybody would have believed it, right?
Right?
No.
Oh man. Well, Noelle, like I said, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Please check back in with us. Come back anytime.
No, the pleasure is all mine.
But thank you again. And for those of you watching, this again has been the Card Subject to Change podcast. We are the podcast by the fan, for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. For my championship tag team partner, Never Wrong Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. We'll see you for the kickout midweek and right back here on our regular time Sunday next week on Card Subject to Change.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
That was easy.
But before I go, I just want to say, you guys, like, I shout out all the podcasters, but like, I love how professional you guys were, and I love the communication. Like, sorry, I wasn't always the best communicator back, but like, I really appreciate it. It made you guys come off really professional. Like, I've had some people ask me to do podcasts, and it's always been like, you know, a little bit shady, but like, you guys were awesome to talk with. Like, I love wrestling, so I always love to talk to wrestling fans. But I wanted you guys to know, like, you guys are doing a good thing, and I will definitely send more people your way. So, like, I enjoyed myself.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me just a moment. For some reason, we are still live.
Hello.
Wow.
Hi, guys. Behind the scenes, the card subject change. Let's see. I don't know what happened there. Give me just a second. Thank you again for tuning in.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.